College football recruiting is heating up. Texas, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Michigan, and more. Let's talk commitments.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back into the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football writer and recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day. Truly appreciate you stopping in to get all your latest information. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers will receive $200 in bonus bets with a $5 bet winner. Today's show is going to be about commitments galore. But I also want to bring up something at the end of the show, talking about a few schools that should be on recruiting heaters, it looks like, from all the trends going through Ohio State, Notre Dame, and especially Texas. But that's also a school that gained another commitment. So let's start right there at the beginning of the show today. The recruiting blitz starts off with a team that we expect to finish in the top five. And quite honestly, Texas had the best recruiting class in 2025. It's still not out of the question that the Longhorns finish with a top class in 26 as well. Not a lock, but certainly a possibility. Corey Wells, 6'5", 300 pounds, out of Petal, Mississippi. This is a young man that I didn't expect to pick Texas. Defensive tackle, has a lot of talent. Ole Miss wanted him, Auburn, other SEC schools, but Ole Miss and Auburn were the only other two schools to host him so far. Texas gets him after a visit. Does he stick with the Horns? This is the kind of player that can change their program. It's not a great year in state for defensive tackles in Texas, but they go and get this young man. This is a good sign for them. They found somebody they want that's a big body D tackle that could two gap if they want him to. Really nice pickup by Steve Sarkisian and his crew. And this is right after they got Cohen Brown. So two big commitments in a couple of days. And overall, like Texas, just looking at the list, Texas commitment list, it's growing each and every day. They're up to 12 commitments. Rivals recruiting rankings has them 19th. That'll go up considerably here in the very near future. But since Saturday, they've gotten Dylan Berryman, one of the best D tackles in the country, another big body guy from out of state. He's from Monroe, Louisiana. I saw him at the Under Armour event down in New Orleans. He's about 330 pounds, 340 pounds. He can play nose. He can play D tackle. That is a really good pickup. They get Jake Collette out of Georgia, a kicker. Yesterday, they get Cohen Brown, the wide receiver out of Waxahachie. And today, Corey Wells. They get two guys, boom, boom, that are really high-rated guys, and that didn't even count Berryman and Collette. So 4 players in a row that are highly coveted by the Longhorns. It was a matter of time before they got rolling, and they do. Next up, Alabama. They get their guy from out west, an offensive tackle, Sam YouTube, 6'4", 320 pounds, Orange Lutheran, just outside of Los Angeles. He was coveted by programs across the country, could have went to some traditional programs out west, like an Oregon or a Washington or a Utah, programs like that. But he decides to join Alabama. They're recruiting more down south, which is good for them to get some of the linemen, but there's nothing wrong with adding a big-time player from the state of California. And this is a kid that is a national recruit. I don't know if he'll end up at tackle or guard. My hunch is guard, but he could end up at tackle as well. Really talented players for the Longhorns, for the Crimson Tide. And I don't think that they're done with the linemen. They've got a bunch of guys still visiting. Look for them to secure 1 or 2 more commitments on both sides of the ball. They're going to be very helpful for their SEC endeavors and possible national championship runs. Bama's recruiting class slowly building, kind of like Texas. They're very much a similar product. They're going after the elite kids. They're not just jumping in on guys to get commitments, and they're getting better. As of right now, I would say that Alabama is still a good bet to finish in the top 7 or so classes in the country, maybe even top 5. But let's see how they do against Georgia, Auburn, Florida State, for some of those kids in the states of Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. Those battles A lot of them are going to be long, played out, drama-filled recruitments. That's just typical down south. Anthony Jones, Xavier Crowell, several other guys down in that area. Those will be the keys for their program, and C.D. Morgan for that matter as well. The Florida Gators secure a commitment out of IMG Academy. Kakua Amua, tight end, 6'5", 255 pounds. I believe he is from either Hawaii or California originally, but he's now at IMG, power player. Florida wants to run downhill. He's a really good football player. They pick him up yesterday. Michigan, they need more defensive linemen. They go to Chicago, to Simeon High School, Mikael Blade, 6'4", 250 pounds. Simeon's always had a program with football players and basketball players for that matter. Mikael Blade picks them over Notre Dame and several other programs from the Midwest. Georgia, one of my favorite linemen in the state of Georgia is who just picked him. Kind of curious, though. He's out of North Gwinnett, really good program. Zachary Lewis. He's only 6'4", 270 as of the listing that I saw on 24/7. And watching his film, I don't think that's really all that far off. Maybe he's a little bigger. But Georgia usually takes the 6'4", 330-pound kid. Watching him on his Huddle film, like Zachary Lewis played right tackle this past year. Will he move inside, play center? Georgia usually has massive offensive tackles. I'm curious to see what Kirby Smart and his crew want to do with that, but he's a really good player. Eric Perry, running back for Auburn coming up. He's out of DeSoto Central. This is the under-the-radar recruit because his only P4 offer was from Auburn, but he plays quarterback at his high school, just outside of Memphis. DeSoto Central is just across the line into Mississippi. I loved his film. I don't know why he wasn't more coveted, but I think his ranking will go up, and I think he'll get several more offers. Nice pickup for the Auburn Tigers. Oklahoma continues to recruit Dallas hard, as they should. Noah Best, interior offensive lineman out of Midlothian, Texas, 6'3", 290 pounds. Good pickup for them. A&M, Asher Murray, kicker out of Shreveport C.E. Byrd High School. The kicker is going to be a Texas A&M Aggie. South Carolina, K.J. Johnson, cornerback. They dip into Birmingham. Woodlawn High School, K.J. Johnson, 6'2", 170 pounds. That's another long, athletic kid. South Carolina has done a good job of getting some under-the-radar players in Georgia and Alabama and Florida the last few years. That continues. Indiana, speaking of sneaky, the Hoosiers snuck up on everybody last year, and they just got Cortez Rupert, wide receiver out of East St. Louis, 5'11", 175 pounds. Arkansas gets two guys. Blair Irvin III, wide receiver, 6'1", 175 pounds out of Bentonville in Arkansas. And they dip into Florida. Dalen Green, linebacker, 6 foot, 200 pounds out of Gadsden County. Looked like he was going to go to Florida State, and he lives just outside of Tallahassee, but he picks Arkansas. Arizona, Harvey Moe, defensive end, 6'4", 225 out of Skyridge High School in Lehigh, Utah. He will pick Arizona. When we come back, we're going to continue on with this commitment list. And we're also going to talk a little bit about some of the guys that I think are coming up. A few commitments, a few teams to watch for heaters. That is next here on the Portal Podcast. The NBA Finals are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. Player props, performance trends, same-game parlays. Fans have all kinds of different ways to play smart and to win big. Game 3 will be with the Pacers in Indianapolis. 7:30, I believe, is the tip-off. Do you like over-under on any particular players for OKC? Maybe Halliburton for the Pacers. There are a lot of different ways you could do it, and you could do a same-game parlay. If you're new to FanDuel, it's a perfect time to sign up. Head over to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right. Thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Please like and subscribe. We appreciate you stopping in. Missouri, Isaac Jensen. They dip into Nebraska again. Nebraska's lost quite a few kids from in-state. Isaac Jensen, tight end, 6'6", 230 out of Millard South. That's a good football program. Good pickup for Missouri. They're trying to build their program a little bit more Midwest-based. Nothing wrong with getting a kid out of Nebraska. Cal, E.J. Morgan, wide receiver, 6 foot, 155 pounds, out of Fresno. He attends Central East. Fresno's always loaded, so a nice pickup for the Bears. SMU gets 2 commitments. Dakota Dixon, they go all the way out to Danville, California, Monta Vista High School. Dakota Dixon, this is important. If you're going to build your program all the way up, SMU's got to get better in the trenches. As the Penn State game in the playoff shows, Dixon's a big-bodied D-tackle, pushing 300 pounds, 6'4". These are the kinds of guys that can change your program. Hudson Woods, defensive end, 6'3", 220 pounds, Smithson Valley High School in Spring Branch, Texas, another defensive lineman. SMU's trending in the right direction. Vanderbilt gets a couple commitments. Colin Flanagan, cornerback, 6'2", 170 pounds, out of Oxford, Mississippi. So he's literally right down the street from the university or Ole Miss University. So that one's interesting. Adam Gim, tight end, 6'6", 235, out of Harmony, Pennsylvania, Seneca Valley. Purdue also dips into Mississippi. Radarian Daniels, that's a good player. As a kid, I've scouted before, 6'1", 180, Lake Cormorant, Mississippi. Another guy, not all that far away from Oxford. Stanford, Caden Scherer, offensive lineman, 6'6", 275, out of Georgetown, Texas. UCLA, Ramzik, I'm going to probably mispronounce this, but Fruiven, 6'4", 215, linebacker, Spanaway, Washington, out of Bethel High School, Illinois. Will Vela, tight end, 6'3", 235, out of Downers Grove, just outside of Chicago. He attends North High School. Utah, Major Hunchin, cornerback, 6'2", 175, out of La Quinta, California. Northwestern, Owen Jakubczyk, not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Interior offensive lineman, 6'3", 260, out of Palatine, Illinois, goes to Fremd. Kentucky, Prince Jean, wide receiver, 6 foot, 180, out of a famous program, Valdosta High School in Valdosta, Georgia. Wake Forest, Jamorcia Plater, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right either, but 5'9", 190, out of Captain Shreve in Shreveport, Louisiana. And Syracuse, Braden Charney, offensive tackle, 6'6", 285, West Palm Beach. He goes to Cardinal Newman. Those are the Power 4 offers I have, and that's still not the entirety of the list. There are more kids, and I'll give you a few more here just for some of the other schools because they deserve credit as well. Let's start off with, let's go Coastal here. This was a little surprising to me. Gary Hadley Jr., Cardinal Gibbons. How about that? Tulane dipping into South Florida, Fort Lauderdale area. Gary Hadley Jr. decides to pick Tulane. That's a kid that could have went P4. Good job by Tulane. They also get Jackson Williams out of Archbishop Shaw right down the road. He's a New Orleans kid. He's a safety, 6'2", 180. He's also going to stick with Tulane. Michael Knight, cornerback out of Ola High School in McDonough, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta, 6'3", 165, really long kid. He is going to Coastal. Buffalo picks up Chris Newell Jr., athlete, 5'10", 180, out of Cleveland, Glenville. That's a famous program. Nice pickup. Navy, Gavin Dobby, interior offensive lineman, 6'4", 270, Christian Brothers College in St. Louis. Another really good program. Marshall gets Tristan Lester out of Milton, one of the best programs in the country in the greater Atlanta area. Safety, 5'9", 190 pounds. Tulsa also gets Nick Anziao. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that properly. My apologies. 6'5", 260. Offensive tackle. He is from Mount Carmel High School in Wichita, Kansas. We also have a couple more. We got Florida Atlantic getting Nick St. Joseph Jr., Northwestern High School, 6'2", 170. Good job by Florida Atlantic. Anytime you're getting somebody at a Northwestern, there's a chance there. Daniel Schiffert, Freedom High School, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, interior offensive lineman, 6'3", 300 pounds. And one more here, Kason Dash, going to Connecticut, corner, 6'1", 185, Wake Gibson in Wakeland, Florida. That program's always got players. So that's the majority of the commitments that I have for the day. There are so many. I'm still missing a few, I'm sure. But the majority of these kids, P4, we're starting to see the big boys, Texas, Ohio State. There's going to be some news, I think, for Ohio State and Notre Dame coming up very, very soon that are both their fan bases are going to like. We'll see. Might have something today and or tomorrow for both of them. We'll see how that goes. But look for the Texas Longhorns. That's my prediction. This week and next, Texas is going to go on a run. Ohio State, I think, over the next couple of weeks will. And Notre Dame at the end of this month. from what I'm hearing, they're going to have some surprises that are really good for them. The big boys slowly but surely creeping up the list. And of course, don't forget about Bama and Georgia. That's coming. The school, I don't know what's going to happen because I thought they were going to go on a recruiting heater as of right now. That's Clemson. They had all their visits May 30th weekend. Kids that were committed, kids that were taking their official visits, and they had even a few guys that were unofficial, I believe, on that weekend as well. There hasn't been a lot of news out of there beyond the offensive line. They've killed it on the offensive line here of late. A few guys, but several more key players. Drake Quinn, the defensive end, they're battling Notre Dame, among others, out of Beaufort, Georgia, and several other kids in Georgia, South Carolina, the traditional areas, a few Florida kids. Will Clemson take that step forward? They've been a little quiet. Do not be surprised if that changes. And their brethren in the same state, as I mentioned, South Carolina has been kind of sneaky. Let's see what happens with them. And then finally, the school that I can't figure out at all in recruiting, the Auburn Tigers. They're in on everybody in the South. They've done an incredible job of getting kids on campus. Who does Auburn finish with? They just got a really good running back that's totally under the radar. I love Eric Perry. But will Auburn get some of the linemen they need? It doesn't look like they're going to flip C.D. Morgan from the wing that he's on. It looks like he's probably going to Bama. He's a young man that is from right down the road from Auburn, about 55 minutes away, Alexander City, Benjamin Russell High School. He's a 5-star receiver. If they lose him, they lose Xavier Kroll. They're starting to lose control of the state again. That would be bad news for them, but they're still in the race for all these guys. Let's see what Auburn does over the next few weeks. That's a really important trend as well. Thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day. Truly appreciate you stopping in and get all your latest college football news. Look for more commitments. We're going to have team previews. We're going to have position previews coming throughout the week. A few of these guys that we're talking about probably going to commit in the next week or two as well. This show is going to get longer as the summer grows older, and it's just going to be more commitments. There's going to be probably 400 commitments between now and mid-July into Power 4. There's a lot of players to talk about. So we're going to have a lot here. So check us out. We will see you again soon on the Portal Podcast.